we go.
All right. And in good form for June, we are getting a nice slow ease into the meeting today. So I hope that you are all doing well. We will try to keep what we're saying today as brief as possible so we have some time to talk at the end because we won't be talking for a few months. And I think, let's see, uh, Amy, do you want to get started with the agenda and then
Sure.
we'll go from there?
Yeah. So here's what we thought we would cover today. We're going to give you a few updates from California, as far as the recent AAUW California elections, an update on the legislative agenda, and some other action alert type things. And then we have a few updates to share with you that we learned from National yesterday, and what our plans are for the summer and then the upcoming fall season.
All right. So I'll get us started with our election results. So first, Amy and I will be hanging out with you for another 2 years. So we thank you very much for all of your ongoing support and encouragement, and we are happy to be here to continue to serve you and to help you do all of the public policy work at the local level. And we have lots of interesting things for you today. Even though we're going on a little summer hiatus, we'll give you a lot of tools for the summer. So, the proposed public policy priorities, once you get onto the slide, you can link to them again. They were also approved, so hooray. We're working on new information cards. We've gotten a lot of requests to have information cards that have more abbreviated information on them. So we're working on the design isn't going to change significantly, but some of the language in the design will. So they'll have abbreviated public policy priorities on the actual physical cards that are printed, but we're also going to have the full PPPs, the full text available on the website. And we're updating the website to incorporate some things that were more about clarification. So from your suggestions, we looked through your public policy priority suggestions very closely and carefully. And we decided to kind of change the website information a little bit to include clarifying information. So I gave an example here of when we use the phrase all women in the public policy priorities, we do that to be inclusive instead of spelling out all the protected categories that we aim to focus on with our legislative action and our activism. So you'll see that coming out in the fall too, but just know that the cards will be ready for you by early August if you want to have some of them for the fall cycle. Also, the dues increase was approved by membership. So we're hoping that this reduces some of the financial strain that not just the organization, but that public policy has been under. We have been working on a shoestring, and we have had a lot of really wonderful and generous donors and donations that has helped us do the work of public policy, support our interns, and we can't thank you enough for that. So we're hoping that the dues increase takes some of that strain off so that we can continue to do the work that we're doing and continue to provide the resources we're providing. So I think that's it there. And the next slide is over to you, Amy.
Yep. So on our legislative agenda, we have a total of 32 bills on our leg agenda this year. 19 of those bills have now successfully come out of committee, gone to the floor of the initiating house, and advanced over to the second house. So that's all very good news. And then we had 7 bills this year that we took an opposition position on, which are part of our leg agenda. And oops. And of those 7 bills that we opposed, 3 are now dead, including AB 579, which I think you all are very familiar with. That's Yaley's law, which would have removed the possibility of kids being able to sue their parents for, if their parents are not allowing them to use their pronouns or their gender identity. So that bill is now dead. And as well as AB 25, which is the Voter ID and Election Integrity Act, and AB 1012, the Medi-Cal Immigration Status Act. There's a fourth bill that we opposed, which is almost dead. This is SB 64, the School Choice Flex Account Act. That was it failed passage in the committee, but it was granted reconsideration. So there's a possibility that it could get taken up again in January, but we're pretty sure that it is not going to advance further. So of the 3 A priority bills that we have on our agenda, SB 771, the social media platforms endangering Californians, which is the AAUW California sponsored bill, has passed out of the Senate and advanced over to the Assembly. So also has SB 418, Ensure Equal Access to Care for All, which we are supporting. That has passed out of the Senate and advanced over to the Assembly. And AB 1098, Pregnancy Protections for All Students Act. This is a bill that was originally a B priority bill and was moved up to A priority because the author's office agreed to take up some of the concerns that we had on the bill. This is a bill that has now advanced over from the Assembly to the Senate. So you can see all of the latest status and all the bills by looking at the bill tracking report that's continually being updated by our legislative advocates. So you could always see the latest on what's going on there.
And I also dropped that in the chat, so you can check out the bill tracking chart on the chat.
That's great. Thanks, Missy. And another easy way that you can always find that is it's on the public policy page on our website. There's a bright red button that takes you straight to the bill tracking report. And we have another button as well for the take action spreadsheet.
Great
Which-
segue. Great
Yes.
segue. It's like you planned that. So good. So our take action spreadsheet, so we are continually updating that, and that is so our interns have gone, at least from their internship status, they may be coming back to help us with some of the projects that they spearheaded. So we are going to continually update it, but we have found that after doing some kind of testing with all of you, and please give us your feedback, we're thinking of transitioning the spreadsheet to a Google site. So it'll look more like the allyship, the trans allyship guide that we launched last month. So it'll be at an actual kind of standing website. So in the fall, we're going to work on transitioning it to a Google site. So you'll still click on the same link, same place.
Okay.
It'll just forward it on to a Google site, and establish a more standardized schedule for updates so you know exactly when, right, to expect them. Right now, we're updating as information comes in and as Milena and I have time to do the updates. So we're going to create a more standardized schedule for updates in the fall. So those are just things to look out for, but it will be updated through the summer, and just look for that in the fall. Great. And on that note, because we have moved to an account on Blue Sky, we're going to, so Amy and I started out by kind of playing with this action alert network with emails. So we this year have been able to establish a Blue Sky account, and we're going to do a lot of our primary action alerts and communication through that network. So we're asking that you follow us on Blue Sky, and throughout the summer in particular, but throughout the year, we're going to put our action alerts there. So we have two ways that right now to take action, that will be the primary kind of action, and that is through ResistBot. So here you can send letters or fax letters to your representatives, and we have a petitions page there. But also you can use the language of the petitions. If you prefer making calls to your representatives, then we invite you to use the language of the petitions and simply make phone calls. We will have other action items that we don't run through ResistBot that will be posted on Blue Sky. The things that you'll probably see through the summer, especially in August, will be trying to get things out of certain committees or targeting specific representatives that may not be your representative. And then the governor's office to advance our key legislation forward at the end of the cycle. We'll also have some of the federal, some push on some of the federal, not just legislation, but a few things that we'll talk about on the next few slides. Myra? Oh, you're muted, Myra.
So sorry.
No problem.
I'm trying to download Blue Sky and there's several Blue Skies. So which one are we looking at to download?
So Blue Sky is it's basically the alternative to Twitter. It's a social media platform, and I can take you to the page. It'll probably connect to my account, but it's their logo is a blue butterfly, and
Got
I
it.
I
I
will.
got it.
Awesome, perfect,
Perfect. Now I'm on. Good.
awesome. All right. Anyone else have any other questions about Blue Sky or this kind of move that we're making? All right. Fantastic. Then, Amy, do you want me to take this one or you want to take this one?
I could take this first page. So we met with National yesterday and they provided us with a few updates. Big focus of the meeting was this budget reconciliation bill that was passed in the House a couple of weeks ago, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. It contains many harmful things. There are going to be increased barriers to higher education for women and people of color. It is putting more emphasis on private school vouchers. It will end the child tax credit. It will defund Planned Parenthood, and it's going to make deep cuts to Medicaid. So we invite you to go to the AAUW Action Alert page. This is the National Action Alert page, and they have a letter there that you can send to the Senate to request that they oppose this bill. National is also calling for a day of action on June 12th. This is a time that they feel is really critical for as many people as possible to become active and reach out to their senators and ask them to oppose this bill. Because the Congress is going to be in recess, they're going to be back in their districts. So you can request meetings with your senators while they're home for recess. You can, there's a couple of links in here. There are talking points that you can use on how to speak with your senators about why we want them to oppose this bill. And there's also a template letter that you can complete and leave behind. And in addition, oh, and also please share this AAUW Action Alert, with the email that can be sent to senators. Share that out with your friends and your relatives and your network so that as many people as possible are reaching out to their senators and asking them to oppose this bill. In addition, we are going to be putting together a letter from all of the AAUW branches to write to the senators and ask them to please oppose this bill. And we think it'll be impactful if all of the branch names are listed. So we're going to be sending out a Google form to all of you so that you all can opt in and let us know if your branch wants to participate and sign on to this letter. So that will be coming to you hopefully in about the next few days or week or so. And Missy has this brilliant idea that she's going to make a picture of the map of California and color in all of the different counties all around where our branches reside, which are signing on to this letter, just to show like the wide swath of in the areas within California that are opposed to this, and just make it as impactful as possible.
All right.
Amy, I just have a question. I know you mentioned June 12th being AAUW's Day of Action, but isn't the National Day of Action the 14th? Okay.
Yes.
Two
Oh,
different
is it the
days.
14th? Did I
Yeah.
misstate that in
No,
here?
no, no,
Sorry.
no.
Oh.
The AAUW has a National Day of Action on the 12th, but they did not coordinate it with the No King's Day. And that's in part because they're asking you to meet with and reach out to your senators, and No King's Day is a Saturday. And so they chose a day of action that was still during the week. And so the 12th is a Thursday. But they're not, they are still being a little cagey about AAUW being out front at the nationwide protests. And so I think that's also part of what is happening, Ginny. So
Okay.
I have a question.
yes,
Um,
I can't. Who is that?
Melanie.
Melanie, yes.
Yeah. I've heard from a number, or at least one source, that if you have a congressman who voted for the bill, it's still good to keep reaching out because it's going to come back to the House. And we've heard some congressmen kind of shaking their heads saying, well, it wasn't so good, or I was kind of talked into it. And we have Kevin Kiley, and he was, you know, he's doing it all for Trump, but it seems like it's good to reach out because our senators are going the right way as it is.
Yep.
And so I would think maybe that could be part of what you put out there is contact your congressman, even especially the ones that voted for the bill.
Absolutely, Melanie. That is 100% correct because, and also if the Senate makes any substantial changes, then it will also go back to the other house. And so, my guess, my hope is that this thing isn't just going to sail through the Senate. So I think that is also great advice.
And that letter that's going to have all the branches.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
I have
Nancy?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, on the action alerts, I get emails and resist bot texts every day from various organizations to, click on the link and send a letter. But I never get anything from AAUW, no matter how many times I sign up for the action alert. Am I supposed to just go online every day and look to see what the action alerts are for AAUW?
If you follow us on ResistBot, then if you follow our petitions page on ResistBot, you should get every time we post something, you should get an alert there. That's how I have it set up on the back end. And if you're not, send me an email and I'll see if I can do anything to help you with that. Because that's how the ResistBot petitions page is set up. So Blue Sky isn't necessarily going to let you, to my knowledge, get an alert every time we post something new, but Blue Sky, if you check our page frequently, it'll show up in your feed as soon as you log on.
No, I'm not going to do Blue Sky, but I'm just looking for alerts that come to me that I don't have to go every day and look at a website to see what the alerts are for that day.
And that's my understanding is if you follow our petitions page, you should get an alert every time that we post.
Okay, thanks. I'll try that.
No problem.
Another question is that are there not going to be any emails, I guess, coming out, or we have to go somewhere else?
So we're going to limit when we have we are going to send some things out via email, but the legislative alerts are going to come out largely through Blue Sky and ResistBot. And that's just an internal logistical thing for us. In part because we negotiate with state on how frequently we send emails out to you all. And so this is kind of one of our ways of working around having to negotiate when we send emails and which things we send emails about. And instead, it allows us to send out alerts whenever we need to, rather than going through that negotiation process. Does that make sense, Melanie?
It kind of does. I'm not very technological, so, you know, I like to get an email personally. But, so I may need help trying to get onto Blue Sky or ResistBot, but.
With ResistBot, if we have a little time at the end, and I can share my screen and just show you how to follow us on ResistBot. I'm happy to make a guide on how to create a Blue Sky account or find a good one for you. But we will still be sending out some things via email, but the more kind of like urgent ones are going to come out in those two formats. And I think there was someone else, and Susan, I thought I saw Sherry too, but Susan,
He
you
was
go
probably
first.
before me, so.
No, I think Sherry might have walked away for a second, so you go first.
Okay, I see if you're planning to participate in demonstrations, etc., see the guidance here. Of course, it doesn't work right now because, okay, so talking about having to organize emails, I can send to my group of 100 anytime. I just try not to overwhelm them. But
Right.
if I want to send to the whole membership of the branch, I have to go through a process. And that email had to be in like today. So if I need to make any changes, I mean, I assume that we can't be in any partisan
Right.
events.
Right.
But a demonstration for democracy like No King's Day is okay.
So I think they are being, okay, personal opinion, I think they're being overly cautious, because what we've always been told and what we've always done is we've participated in ways that align with our public policy priorities rather than
Yes.
being nonpartisan.
Mhm.
And that would align with what we have always been told. I am not quite sure why they are being very cautious here, because not wanting kings means that we don't want any kings, and it doesn't matter what party anyone is a member of.
Yeah.
Not getting this.
As long as you are there for democracy and not for a particular political candidate that is partisan in any way, I think you're fine.
Thank
Not
you.
too
I won't be
controversial.
there, so I had
Yeah.
to get a team. Our whole team is going to be away, our leadership group, so we had to get another team of 3 people to coordinate the event. That was like pulling teeth, of course. So now that we're doing that, I just wanted to go.
Yes, and we and other state
Mhm.
public policy chairs have been pushing national on this a bit. So
Yes.
we
Right. Thanks for all you do. But I say that again. Yes, thank you for all you do.
no problem, Susan. But I don't go out and protect democracy, because like we're not going to have to worry about anything partisan if we don't have democracy.
If any
So,
neighboring branches want to join us, you're welcome also. Okay, go ahead.
excellent, Susan. Have a great time.
Thanks.
Did I see other hands? Okay. I see a comment in the chat. Branches have finished for the fiscal year, so hard to get concurrence with sending these letters. And it might be this is the request that we got from National yesterday. So we're going to try to get as many as we can, Sharon, but with the knowledge that I know we're on summer break here, but the legislative cycle is continuing until federally until the break in July, and we're trying to get something out. So we'll see what we can do. All right, if no other questions, here are the other things that we'll have coming out from national. And so this is when I referred earlier to some things go through ResistBot and other things might not. So one thing that we have been made aware of is that the current regime has started kind of pushing on rules and rule creation, and they started with the Department of Energy. So there's basically an attempt to use the formal rules process to walk back gender equity protections in the Department of Energy. And in part of this formal rules process for the department is they have to make any rule changes public and then make them available for public comment. And so we can potentially have an impact by commenting on problematic rule changes. So we are putting together, again, we got this information yesterday, and this is going to be a quick turnaround. The public comment period closes June 16th, so we're going to try to push something out. I think tomorrow or the next day, that is basically how you can comment on specific rules that are trying to walk back gender equity protections. Now, why and how do we have an impact? If there's a public comment period, then they can't simply push the rule through. If it gets enough pushback, then through their own rule process, they have to actually like take it back and address, right? Address like a lot of adverse public comments. So we're trying to insert ourselves into this new legislative or a bureaucratic workaround that the Trump administration is trying for walking back gender equity protections. So we're going to push that on a Blue Sky when we send out the sign-on letter. We'll also drop it in there. So Melanie, you can get it there too. And that's what I mean by us trying to combine as much as we can to send things out via email. So you'll get those links there too. We don't have them ready for you yet. We just got an email right before we got on this call that gave us all the language that we need and all the links. So we'll get that out to you as soon as we can. Ginny?
Maybe you just answered what I was going to say. I didn't quite hear it, but do we have an example of what they're trying to do verbiage wise or for gender equity?
I just got it. So it's basically what they're trying to do everywhere. I don't know, Amy, did you read through them more and can answer that question? I can do a quick read of what we got.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the thing that Kalina just sent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's okay. It'll be in the thing you're sending out. Yeah.
It's the same thing they're trying to do with the Civil Rights Division. Like, I mean, it's for instance, like, what they've been doing with the Civil Rights Division and what is probably going to get worse after the Ames versus Ohio decision today is talk about discrimination in a way that isn't actually addressing historically marginalized people and categories, but instead making discrimination based on sex, like it also apply to, right, discrimination against men in spaces where men have probably not been discriminated against, that kind of thing. But we'll get the formal rules to you. And so you can see them and with language that explains it, Ginny. So hopefully that is helpful.
It's funny that they chose the Department of Energy as the first one, because what are they trying to do? Keep it under the radar? Because no one, energy, big deal. What has that got to do with,
Yeah. That's the idea is that they ran this as a test balloon with the Department of Energy so they could create both a process and a precedent in their minds. And figured that nobody would be paying attention to the Department of Energy. So we're trying to like bring some attention to the fact that they're attempting to do this.
And I dropped those two that are related to sex discrimination into the chat, so you can take a look at those, and we will follow up with more information.
Thanks, Amy.
Yep, no problem.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So let's see. I think that's it, right? Because we already talked about the participation. They just basically gave us the link to their guidance again, and this is like to Susan's point earlier about protests and rallies. So they have their guidance, but we've already talked through it.
Sorry, I've lost my I'm like totally messed up right now.
Okay. We're on slide
Quick
9.
question, and I'm sorry, Shari Simon, I don't know
Oh.
where I'm on this.
Okay.
Given we're Californian, given we know how Schiff and Padilla are going to vote,
Mm-hmm.
what is there, and also, like, I mean, if, you know, what is the value? How does it help them by us calling, sending stuff like it? Is there not a way to target the Republican representatives, because there are unfortunately too many of them that are MAGA Republicans, that are voting against, you know, abortion, that are putting women's reproductive health, like, and I realize, like, typically when you call your own senator, you call your own congressperson based on your location, but it just seems like with the power of all of our branches, couldn't we make, is there not a better way to leverage our collective energy? And I'm not trying to challenge, but it just troubles me that I want to go after the people and have them feel some pressure that aren't supporting and aren't in alignment with our values. So I just was wondering if you've already spoken to that. I apologize. I did join a few minutes late, but perhaps if you could address that, that would be very helpful.
Mm-hmm. So I think, you know, and it's a good point, and it can be frustrating. And if anybody wants to come with me next time I visit my hometown in Western Pennsylvania, you could just like stand in the public square and yell a lot. But I say, on the one hand, right, when you reach out to people that you know are already going to support something that does have value, and it has value in two ways. One is that, like, if they get a groundswell of support for the thing that they're doing, then that helps them to, like, one, both like have actual receipts that their constituents are supporting their actions, and two, you know, just feel good about the fact that they're getting support for the things that they're doing.
Our letters thank them for standing up. Should we acknowledge the work that they're attempting to do? Or, like, that's what I mean. I mean, I'm just saying we are Californian, and it's not all clear. I mean, as I said, there are many in Congress who don't align with AUW's values.
Right. And I think when we're talking, right, federally, then, you know, when you go on the California petitions page, for like in ResistBot, it gives you what we've written as a template, which means you can amend it and like you can add things to it, and you can definitely thank them for the things that they're doing if you know that they're already doing that. So that work of support. In terms of targeting specific people, when we're at the state level, we do have specific targets for specific things strategically at the state level, especially for advancing legislation. And that is, you know, we work with our legislative advocate to think about when we need to target certain people and where we need to target certain people, usually to get things out of committee or get things moving. And we'll also target the governor's office when we get into the end of this legislative cycle. If you want to take any of our letters from ResistBot and start just making some calls, you can also do that. Now, whether or not it's
Could
going
all
to be
choose to reach out to, for example, gosh, I have it right here, like the Ken Calvert, who represents California's 41st congressional district. Like, we could all be calling him, their office, every day and saying, you know, this is how we'd like him to vote, which would be in opposition to how he's currently voting. Like,
and you
is that
can't
valuable, or is that also like, you know, should we be barraging him with 250 letters or 2,000 letters?
it always has more of an impact if you're in the district.
Right.
So if you want to do it to feel good, then, like, I mean, it feels good to do it, but in terms of effectiveness, it may or may not be effective. If, like, because they're usually measuring impact based on like their
Yes.
district and like the voters that are going to put them back in office. So that would be, you know, my kind of general response. But we do have some things that are targeting certain people at certain times, and you know, but we don't have a mass effort. But if you want to keep talking about it and talk about effectiveness, we're happy to take that to our legislative advocate and think about it strategically. Myra, you're welcome, Sherry.
Yeah, I have one question. Amy posted 2 items from the Federal Register. Is that from the Department of Energy that you were talking about? Because yeah. Thank you so much. Okay. I'm
No
clear on
problem.
that now. Thank you.
And when we send an email and when we post it on Blue Sky, we'll give you kind of the framing language and how you should address it and like all of the information. But that's to give you a kind of a jump on what they're trying to do. All right, great questions. And anything else to raise?
Can I make a
Yeah,
quick
Susan, go
response?
ahead.
Sherry, maybe you live in Berkeley and you have a fabulous Democratic Congress member, but I live in Santa Clara County, and our Democratic Congress member is really always trying to act like, oh, we're going to work across the aisle, and he doesn't want to speak up too loud. So I feel that I need to call him more than I do. I'm lucky if I call him twice a week, but
Right.
he needs people saying that we expect you to stand up for democracy, education.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's why I'd love to have the energy of
Do you
our
live in,
branch.
do you live in Berkeley, or
branch being
where do you
all
live?
in your branch. Call him on a regular basis.
Where do you live, Sherry?
I live in the East Bay. So
Okay, so you have somebody, and is your person standing up all, well, then call our senators, because sometimes they're doing the right thing, but other times they're not. So they need constant reminders that we're expecting them to stand up for us every day for democracy. At least that's my impression. I mean, it's a very critical moment, and I think we could see some more bravery on the part of our
You know,
Democratic.
it wouldn't be a bad idea to include this map thing that you're going to come up with all the branches in California. So you could send it to their office along with it with an email or something, or however you're getting it to them. It would kind of infer that all these branches are supporting this, whether the individuals in those branches are or not. But,
Right.
you know, leave it up to them to decide.
Yes, the
Yeah.
senators voted for the Genius Act. Yes, thank you, Joy, for reminding me what that was called. Yes, they do not always vote for the right thing.
Yep.
They
Fair
also approved the cabinet.
Yes, they didn't put holds on all of those cabinet members, which they should have.
They should have on everyone. I agree.
Yes, I think expecting more of them is going to get us more than expecting anything from Republicans.
Yep. Okay.
I'm sorry, I'll shut up.
No, I stand corrected and I like that. But that's what I mean. That's where I want to see the challenges. I just think we're in a unique spot and I want to use our voice just the way how we align with Georgia to get out the vote. I just want to make sure that we're using our time effectively and having an impact. So that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Are you organizing your branch to go to No King's Day?
I am not, but maybe I should be.
Just a thought.
Where are you located, Susan?
San Jose, California.
That's right. You'd said Santa Clara. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Sherry. And thank you for the conversation. So I'll coming back to the slides, this is just reiterating, we're going to also take a summer hiatus from public policy news and in peer group meetings in July and August. We're going to resume everything in September. A lot of branches take a summer hiatus. We elect a new board, and so to get them onboarded, we usually have July is kind of a month to get new people onboarded. So we're going to take a break, but that's where we said, if you can make a Blue Sky account, follow us there. Because we'll still be doing action alerts and updates and updating the action alert spreadsheet with new opportunities. You'll also get a few emails from us here and there when we have certain actions that are either pushed out from national or that we know are statewide and need to go out. So we will not be sleeping. We will still be doing things, but you won't get official correspondence through public policy news or peer group meetings until September. And I think that is on to you, Amy, with a preview of
just
our fall
to-
plans.
Just to let you know about a few of the things that we have cooking for the fall. There is a half-day symposium that the school board project team is working on, and that is going to be on September 13th from 1 to 5 p.m. So mark your calendars, save the date. It still is in the planning phase, so it's not, set in stone exactly what the symposium is going to consist of, but some of the ideas that are being considered right now, there is likely going to be a shortened version of the monitors and observers training that was given by the Public School Defenders Hub on April 24th. I think a lot of you tuned into that. We will have a shortened version of that here at this symposium with more of an emphasis on California laws. There is probably going to be a panel discussion, possibly including educators, League of Women Voters, and others. And we are going to have some workshops, including a listening session on what our members are seeing and hearing out in the school districts and what are the different areas and issues of concern. There's going to be a presentation of the Lift Up Public Schools collaboration model that has been developed out at the Danville Alamo Walnut Creek branch. This is a fabulous collaboration that this team out there has put together of a couple dozen organizations at least that are like-minded and all want to come together to protect public education. So they've done a wonderful job out there, and they are going to be giving a presentation on how they've put that collaboration together so that other branches can try to model that. And also, if you have other topics related to school boards that you would like to hear about, please reach out to your school board project liaison and let them know what you would like to have included. And just a note down here that your school board project liaison should have contacted you all either by phone or by email regarding a short survey that we're asking you to complete. So if you receive that survey by email, please complete it and return it by the 13th. And if you haven't yet heard from your liaison, please contact Kathy Harper, who's the chair of the school board project, and let her know that you haven't heard from your liaison or you haven't received the survey. And her email is here in the slide. Couple of other things coming in the fall. Missy and Shauna Rule are going to be presenting a webinar in the fall about the future of AI, including how AI is revolutionizing the educational landscape and how some of the creative industries are using AI to push boundaries. So that is a really great webinar that's going to be coming. And also, we're planning to do a webinar in the fall, following up from the webinar that Missy and I presented in October last year about Project 2025 and how it would impact AAUW's public policy priorities. We wanted to revisit that a year later and just take a look at where each of those things we talked about have landed, where things stand, what's been implemented, and then talk about what actions specifically that we all can take to push back and protect our priorities. Missy, you want to talk about the things down here at the bottom?
Absolutely. So we will have, I have talked to the political science department at Cal State Long Beach, and our pilot internship program went very well. And so we're going to try to do the program rather than for one semester, a 2-semester program. So the students will get course credit for 2 semesters, and we'll have them from late August, September, the whole way through May. So for the full 2 semesters. So we'll have some new interns, and our old interns, our first cohort, are very interested in staying on to onboard them and kind of start to create kind of a cohort of folks who have interned with us, which is very cool. But that is coming up. So when you come back, we should have some new interns or be in the process of having a few new people on board. As Sharon, go ahead.
Yeah, so I wanted to make a comment that I'm finding typical of relatively new members. They all want to, quote, do something.
Mm-hmm.
And many of them are not part of public policy. They're not aware of all of these things, and getting all these wonderful things that you're pushing out are not being sent to the general population of AAUW California. We have, 8,000 plus members, and they're not aware. And so the question I have, and I know you do a yeoman's job, both of you and your committee, of all of this, how do we make them more aware of what they could do to do something? I just came from my branch board retreat, and we're talking about doing more than one public policy meeting a year. But the question is, what is the do something that they can do?
Well, we have a ton of resources, and every month in Public Policy News, we put out 3 specific things based on a topic that they can do. So if they don't want to read all 3 pages of Public Policy News,
That's, I think,
then
one of
they
the
could
concerns.
then take 1 page and give them that. We update the action spreadsheet on the very front page of the most current actions that they can take. They could follow us on Blue Sky because we give them bite-sized actions that they can take. Those are just 3 off the top of my
Okay.
head. We also, because we had our interns last year, like, we're just trying to create more resources that also allow you to push things out, in bite-sized forms, because the information's there. It's just how you push it out. We do have, because we integrated Blue Sky with ResistBot, our followers almost tripled since we started our Blue Sky account. So we know that that is at least effective for the general public for following us and doing more action there. So those are just some.
I know you have a plethora of information in the Public Policy News. I mean, I follow it, and I've done some of the ResistBot things. I'm just wondering if something that could come out to all of our members, since the summer is taken off by, the California Connection and Board to Board, and there's a transition with regard to board members. If something could be sent out, something very minimal to all of the members to say, we have been asked to give you 3 items that you could then look at to do something if you are concerned about what is happening nationally.
Mhm.
And I'm just saying that might be something that you would consider.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
I think, but if you all have the tools already, you could just send them the second page of Public Policy News, because it's just 1
They're
page.
they're not
1 to
gonna
3.
read it. That's what I'm suggesting. A three line, whatever. That would be, yes, we could do it, but
It has a little image right in the middle that is like 1, 2, 3, and it's like 2
okay.
bullet points. Like I
Alright.
think the second page would probably be a good bite-sized thing. And again, they could tell them to follow us on Blue Sky. It's like less than 200 characters.
I understand that, but I'm saying in your position at the state level, if you could have something sent out to every member of the state, here are
Sharon,
3 things you can do.
Sharon, it's
That's
such a
all I'm
great
saying.
idea, but I can tell you from being a member who had to step down because there's so much work to do on that committee, these people are very busy.
I'm not suggesting your committee. I'm suggesting every single member of California, AAUW California,
Mhm.
which normally gets the California Connection. and I know it's going on hiatus.
Yeah.
That's all
And-
I'm saying.
Yeah. And there, I think that's something we can talk about too. I think it runs, and Sharon, I agree with you. I think it just runs up against so when we do the get out the vote emails, it
Mhm.
always runs up against the concern that we're inundating people with emails. And so
Got it.
that's also why we've moved in these other directions, so that we can get around the concern that we're inundating people with emails. But that doesn't mean I can't take your idea to the board.
I will see you there.
Oh, so then, yeah, you can raise it.
Yep. Thank
Excellent.
you.
No problem. Ginny?
I was going to suggest one thing that might be helpful is to encourage the branches to have a program meeting just on public policy, and to go to the public policy newsletter and break it down. Go to all the different sections. They always have an article that you can reprint. Our newsletter is nothing but public policy. It's gotten to the point where, we're out of what to talk about on membership and some of this other stuff. So basically, it's all public policy. And if we have an article, like we're doing this thing in June on it, is it Anita Savage or whatever? I don't know, the woman artist, and this women documentary film thing. They're actually she's going to be on via Zoom, is going to be there for Q&A after we view the film, the short documentary. It's about 20 minutes. And then, we have the option. Our newsletter person has gone through, and all the artists that were affected by this woman is is all there. So it all kind of revolves around the theme of our meeting. But you could advertise that in the board to board, so they don't have to write a new article. But basically, they could be saying, okay, in the board to board, we really recommend for those of you who want to energize your branch, especially newer members, spend a program meeting on just going through the public policy newsletter for that month.
Yeah. Also a good idea. And we try to, if you go to the second page that we've turned into an action page, because we know we're providing a lot of resources, that one is usually 3 actions you can take around a theme. And that's, that was created for the explicit purpose of like giving people very direct things that they can and should do that are targeted per month. And I like the idea, Ginny, and yeah, we'll continue to think on like the resources are there. Like, how can we make sure that people are using them?
The spreadsheet alone could use a meeting.
Yes, and so we had so Milena went and spoke with Oregon, and that's one of the things that is part of the transition to the website format. Is like Amy and I were bouncing around the idea of like Milena and I doing like an introduction video, right? Of like, like rather than having it in text, that like, that she and I do a video together. So we, now that we have the resources, because first we had to build it, and now that we have it, what do we do next to make it most usable and most impactful? Fantastic. All right, so the other things I have on this spreadsheet, on this last slide, is for our fall. Like we said, we have now that we have this resource, what's in the next iteration and what are we going to do with it? We're going to continue to work on that. And then we also launched a trans allyship guide to complement the existing allyship guides that exist through like GLAAD and the Trevor Project. And this one is, I just dropped it in the chat. This one is basically we write model responses that are backed by research to common questions and challenges that you might encounter. So we've done 2 question sets first. They're at the very bottom that says common questions. The allyship guide is basically set up to be like, what is this one? Here are all the other allyship guides that exist. why is this important? And then what are the common questions you might face or that you yourself might have? What are common responses? So we've done 2 question sets based on things that we have encountered, and we're working on model responses, and I'm putting together a little team of people to help me write the model responses and gather the resources. So that is that. So if you have a question or something that you encounter, there's also a submit your questions form. And you can submit anything, and then we'll work to pull those together and put them together. So we are putting together a team to make us more responsive to that now that we've built it out. And that's something else that we're going to be doing in the fall. Any questions?
You do a lot of work.
I hope for you, not for us. Just kidding. So, Zena.
Yeah, hi. I got a call the other day from a city council member, Mayor Pro Tem, and there's 2 issues coming up, one in the school board and one in the city council. And I was just wondering if they feel that there's a big movement that they're getting hit on. One of them is on obviously gay pride and how the city had passed a resolution supporting that. And now it looks like it's coming back to questioning that. That's for the city council. The one on the school district is on the ethnic study class. And that is really confusing for me because I looked on it. At first it was mandatory and then became not mandatory. And then the issue was there is no state framework. And then there's an issue of the bias, that it's bias and could, influence, this kind of stuff, okay? I'm not quite sure. I have a feeling that the Moms for Liberty are going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
She was requesting, obviously, some action if we could get people there. And of course, that's going to be a problem, especially this time of the year. I'm wondering, obviously, if this has sort of been put this time of the year for a reason. But anyway, so the issue on the school board is the one that I'm confused on as far as what our position is. Obviously, we want an unbiased ethnic studies class.
Mm-hmm.
And since it's not mandatory, it looks like they worked on it all year or whatever, and now they're bringing to pass it, is what I'm gathering. But is that issue of bias a very legitimate one? Because they're talking about that some of them, it's anti-Semitic, or some of them, are encouraging whatever. Okay. Is this this is new for me, this particular issue. Mm-hmm. Has there been any resolution at the state level on our behalf with it?
And I'll let Joy, do you want to, are you asking or responding to the same thing? And then I can tell you what I know. So Joy, do you want to go first?
Okay, sorry. The only thing I was going to say about that is if you want more people to come, since Temecula doesn't have its own AAUW group anymore, and some of the people have actually joined the Fallbrook group, if you have the particulars about the day and time and location of that board meeting, you could send that to Ann McCarthy, who does our newsletter, because she could send out an email to all the members.
This is in Carlsbad, the COV.
So I thought you were talking about Temecula.
No, I'm talking about Carlsbad because that's where we have the branch, and it's the Carlsbad School District. But thank you. I'm wondering if I should go outside of the branch because I may have to. There's a lot of members in the branch COV that are Vista or Oceanside and not Carlsbad. And so I'm trying to, I'm having difficulty finding Carlsbad people. But
Yeah,
Thank
there, there is that Carlsbad Dem Club. Do you know any people in that?
I do know that. I don't know if I want to, here we go with, we're trying to avoid connecting with the partisan, aren't we? But I can do it as friends.
Yeah, just as
but
individuals.
yeah, yeah.
And it's their choice if they want to let
I'm
their
just
members
wondering,
know about it.
yeah, I'm just wondering where our comfort level is in AUW on the issue of, I mean, ethnic studies, yes, please, it'll make kids understand one another and it'll take away all the garbage out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then there's all this other political stuff that's coming involved because it's making it political. It's politicizing groups, right? This group is this way and this group is that way. And of course, wrong information. And if there's no state framework to follow, which is, and I don't know if it's being developed or
Yes.
okay, there is.
So we there is one, right? There's the general bill about, right, like curricula and historically accurate information that already passed and is being implemented. But this year, because of this like issue with the ethnic studies requirement and opting in and opting out and the different kinds of curricula that are being created around it, there is one bill that's being advanced, and I need to double check on it because I don't know where it's at. But there was a bill that we were already kind of moving. I think it made our C list. That was basically attempting to create a more strategic curricula and curricular standards around the ethnic studies requirement and the ethnic studies opt-in. So as far as AAUW, we like our position on that is like, yes, it needs to have certain kinds of, criteria, and that we want to see a more standardized criteria that's historically accurate and that's inclusive. So
Okay.
I would say that is like where our general position is. Now, to speak to the politicization of it is, I could talk about that all day. But can you tell me exactly what, like, is this answering your question? Is this helpful?
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure what, because again, it's a city council member who called me on this, so I did not speak to a school board person, but from what I'm gathering is that they are looking at approving the ethnic studies, and obviously, since we're for that, I don't want to be against it, but then again, if they bring up some particular thing that obviously I haven't read it, I have no idea what's in it, but the concept, and so I'm not quite sure where their discussion is. I'm going to have to do some more discovery, but I got this call, and the whole thing is happening in a week or two, right? So yeah, so it's and then I can't be there to talk because it's at night in Carlsbad and I live in Temecula and I don't drive at night, so therefore I don't know if I to put out very, branch members who've never really spoken or who've been, who I'm asking now to speak on something that I'm not quite sure of.
Yeah,
I like the idea of other branches,
AP
reaching out to other branches.
Yeah, and it might also at the same time is useful to even have somebody there to like witness and try to
Sure.
and ask questions and better understand what they're trying to do with it.
Yeah.
Because that also part of this, part of the school board project is making sure that they're following California state law, and that there's the issue with bias and discrimination is like right now is just a hot mess because of the misinformation that is coming from the Fed, and the Ames versus Ohio decision today is going to muddy the waters a little more. So I think that there's a lot of confusion around it generally, like that's in the public discourse. But if we're thinking about like the concept of bias itself, anything that is related to DEI work is about like diversity scaled large, right? So as long as you are talking about like all like groups and all forms of diversity, then it can't be considered a biased form of education. And if ethnic studies is one class in a larger curricula where you're addressing historically accurate information for like all groups that you can identify in California, one class should not be in violation of that kind of like curricular issue.
So I think, I think just making, if we make a comment, monitoring, I like that idea, monitoring and being there and listening and seeing, if we have somebody speak, it would be more of bringing in the issue that it, we're very much for a state framework, and we hope that, the course obviously is presenting an inclusive, and we're going to stay away from DEI language. I know that we're not supposed to use those, but more, representing the groups that are within our community, that kind of thing, rather than specifically address that particular.
So don't say diversity, say difference and pluralism, right? Don't say equity, say fairness, and don't say inclusion, say belonging, civility, politeness, respect, right? Like just get yourself out of the politicization of it and focus on that language. And then the actual bill language like that we already have that's passed is like historically accurate and inclusive curricula.
Okay, thank you. That gives me some ideas, and hopefully I can get some people down there, but that may be an issue too.
And thank you as always for your good work on this, Sina. I really appreciate everything that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate
Sina,
it.
I know that I think, Sina, in your area it's particularly difficult, so really appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you.
So I know we're a little over time, but are there any other questions or anything else to raise? I know a few people had to jump off, then you'll say, I will see you on Blue Sky. Feel free to email us, and you'll be getting an email from us about the sign-on letter and the Department of Energy. Our next meeting is Thursday, September 4th. And Amy, I can see your screen.
Yes, I was gonna drop the deck into the chat one more time for people that may have joined late, so that you all have access to these Google Slides, because all the links are in the slides.
Yep. And we appreciate everything that you're doing, and we will continue to do our best to provide you with resources and support. And thank you for everything that you are doing. It feels a lot better to do this work together. So I appreciate all of you. I hope you have a wonderful summer. And if we don't see you before, we'll see you in September.
Have a great summer, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.